The U.S. just launched a major strike on Iran's nuclear sites.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting genuinely well-informed on the really critical stuff happening in the world. Today, we are plunging right into an event it's already reshaped the geopolitical map. The U.S. bombing of Iran's three main nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, happened June 22nd, 2025. So our source for this deep dive is a really thorough analysis called Aftermath: Iran Bombing and Middle East Turmoil. It's not just a news report, It actually breaks down the fallout across different areas. Our job today is to unpack what this really means for the Middle East, sure, but also for the rest of us, immediately in the next few months, and then looking further out. So let's get into it. What exactly are we looking at here?
Yeah, it's an incredibly volatile situation. And what's really useful about this analysis is how it lays things out, domain by domain. Gives you a forecast of the ripple effects, helps you cut through the immediate chaos and see the bigger picture, the underlying shifts. It's a fast way to get up to speed on the whole scope.
Okay, let's dive straight into maybe the most immediate tangible effects, the military and security side. Iran's retaliation. What does the analysis tell us? Where are they likely to strike back first?
Well, the analysis predicts it'll be swift and multi-pronged. We're talking missile strikes aimed at Israel, definitely.
Yeah.
But also hitting U.S. bases across Iraq, Syria, and probably the Gulf states, too. This isn't just symbolic, It's meant as a forceful, direct response.
Right, state on state. But it's never just that simple in the region, is it? What about groups like Hezbollah or the Houthis? How does the report see them getting involved straight away?
That's a really crucial point. The assessment suggests they're highly likely to open up new fronts almost immediately. We can see things flare up very quickly on the Lebanon-Israel border and expect a new wave of attacks, probably quite aggressive ones, on shipping in the Red Sea. The idea is to apply pressure from multiple directions, use those existing networks to cause maximum disruption.
Okay, so direct strikes, proxy action. Are there other immediate ways Iran might retaliate according to this analysis?
Oh, absolutely. The report highlights less conventional methods too, things that are just as disruptive. We should probably brace for terror attacks, and sophisticated cyber strikes as well, likely targeting Israeli interests, Gulf interests, maybe wider Western targets in the region. It shows they have a sort of a broad toolkit and they're willing to use all of it right out of the gate.
So after that initial shock, the analysis looks at the midterm effects, say the next 1 to 6 months. How does this attack impact the existing proxy wars? Will they heat up again?
The forecast there is pretty grim, honestly. Places like Iraq and Syria, which might have seemed a bit quieter recently, they could slide back into serious violence very quickly. The analysis specifically warns about renewed clashes, militias hitting back against U.S. forces. It could really destabilize those areas again.
And what about the Gulf countries, the traditional U.S. allies like Saudi Arabia, the UAE? What does this mean for their security posture in the medium term?
That's a really significant shift predicted there. The report points towards a real militarization push in the Gulf. You'll likely see countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia actively asking for more U.S. protection, maybe even NATO involvement. That tells you something, doesn't it? It signals a deep concern about stability, that they feel they need those external security guarantees now.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit, away from the direct military stuff to the political consequences. Inside Iran first. How does the government there likely react internally to this kind of attack?
Well, internally, the analysis suggests a response that's predictable, but probably effective for them. They'll almost certainly use the attack to rally the public, frame it as an assault on Iran itself, on national sovereignty. And that gives them cover to consolidate power, crack down hard on any dissent.
Makes sense. And what about the nuclear commitments? Does Iran just walk away?
That's seen as highly probable. The report suggests they could very well quit the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT, and kick out the IAEA inspectors, which essentially means their nuclear program goes dark.
Yeah.
No more international monitoring. That's a huge deal.
Wow. And what about the wider region? How does this ripple outwards politically? Stability in neighboring countries?
The ripples are pretty significant there, too. Governments in places like Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, they could face serious protests, popular anger, maybe directed at their perceived inaction or their alliances, and even the really solid U.S. allies like Jordan or Egypt. They'll be in a tricky spot, facing huge pressure at home to take a clearer stance, which itself risks causing unrest. It's a delicate balance.
Let's talk economics, because the analysis paints a pretty stark picture, especially for energy markets, oil prices. What happens if Iran threatens the Strait of Hormuz?
The numbers are alarming. You have to remember, something like 20% of the world's oil goes through Hormuz. So the analysis warns we could see an immediate massive spike to $150 a barrel, maybe $200. Even higher isn't ruled out. That's not just, expensive gas. That's a potential global economic shock.
Right. And beyond just the price of crude, what are the broader economic shocks the analysis lays out?
It's a cascade, really. You'd see huge disruptions to shipping globally, not just oil tankers.
Yeah.
Insurance costs for any ships near the region would skyrocket. Just general uncertainty about oil supplies would hit confidence. And interestingly, even the big Gulf producers, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, despite having the oil, they could face recession fears themselves because the overall instability would be so damaging.
And it's not just oil, is it? What other economic fallout does the analysis highlight?
No, definitely not just oil. Tourism is a big one. Expects a sharp drop in places like the UAE, Turkey, Egypt, which rely heavily on it. Investor confidence across the whole Middle East would likely take a nosedive. And critically, the report points to rising inflation, especially food prices, hitting the most fragile economies hardest. Places like Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Iraq. That pushes people closer to, humanitarian crisis.
This obviously forces everyone to rethink alliances, diplomacy. How might public opinion in Arab countries shift towards the U.S., even if governments stay aligned?
Yeah, the analysis suggests a real potential for a major backlash in public opinion on the quote-unquote Arab street. Even if governments try to maintain ties with the U.S., there could be a lot of resentment over the attack itself.
And are there specific countries that might actually pull back diplomatically?
The report singles out a few. Turkey, Qatar, Oman, they might try to distance themselves a bit, maybe play a more neutral role, either because they fear instability or they want to keep lines open to all sides.
What about Israel? What does the analysis say the implications are specifically for them?
For Israel, it looks like a state of constant high alert, facing ongoing missile threats, maybe from multiple directions, plus a lot of international political pressure. And the analysis is clear. Any more big strikes by Israel could easily tip things into a direct, full-scale war with Iran itself or with Hezbollah, which would be catastrophic.
So with all this happening, where do players like Russia and China fit in? What's their move, according to the analysis?
Well, for them, this could be seen as a strategic opportunity, a big one. The analysis suggests both Russia and China might step in to support Iran, capitalizing on its isolation. That means deeper ties, political, military, economic. It helps Iran, sure, but it also helps them reshape the global balance of power a bit.
And if you connect all those dots, what's the bigger geopolitical picture that emerges? A new world order.
The report doesn't mince words. It suggests this could really ignite a kind of new Cold War dynamic. Essentially, you'd have the U.S. and Israel, maybe some Gulf allies, on one side, and on the other, a bloc potentially forming around Russia, China, Iran, and its proxies. That's not just a regional shift. That's a fundamental change in global alignment, a Cold War 2.0, as the analysis puts it.
And finally, there's the really grim prospect of increased radicalization, terrorism. What does the source material say about extremist groups finding new life in this?
Yeah, that's a major concern highlighted in the analysis. Groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, maybe even new Iranian-backed extremist outfits, they could gain a lot of sympathy. And recruits, fueled by all the anti-Western, anti-Israeli propaganda that would inevitably surge, especially online.
And the concrete result of that? More attacks.
That's the fear. The analysis says we should expect a rise in attacks. Could be lone wolves, could be more coordinated efforts, both inside the Middle East and potentially outside too, in the West or elsewhere. So just to quickly summarize the kind of timeline the analysis forecasts, in the immediate future, the next 30 days or so, expect those proxy attacks we talked about, missile exchanges, oil prices spiking, and probably Iran formally quitting the NPT. Then looking out over 1 to 6 months, that's when we likely see regional conflicts really escalating, serious economic instability becoming more widespread, and those diplomatic splits hardening. Moving into the 6 to 12-month time frame, the potential for a direct Israel-Iran war becomes much more real. You'd likely see more U.S. troops deploying and new alliances starting to solidify. And then beyond a year, the analysis suggests the Middle East could settle into that Cold War 2.0 scenario, an entrenched division, driving an arms race and making instability the new normal for a long time.
Wow. That is quite a forecast, an intense but really crucial deep dive. Hopefully this has served as that shortcut we promised, helping you get genuinely informed on what is clearly a massive geopolitical event with far-reaching consequences. And as you process all of this, here's something to maybe mull over, building on what we've discussed from the analysis. What if that Cold War 2.0 scenario doesn't stay confined to the Middle East? What could the global implications be if it spreads, fundamentally reshaping international relations for decades? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.